high hopes how Tibet's athletes took their fight for Olympic recognition to the European Parliament. Cup of Nations Sportsworld is with the Ivory Coast as they prepare for Africa's greatest footballing prize. Land of the Rising Stars, we meet the new face of Asian tennis. And lazy river it certainly isn't. We go rowing in the Zambezi Regatta. Welcome to Sportsworld, Al Jazeera's regular look at sport around the globe. I'm Joanna Gajarowska. As the calendar is set to turn to 2008 in a few weeks, the sporting world will turn its attention to the Summer Olympics in Beijing. Athletes from all over the world will be stepping up their training regimes and hoping to qualify for the biggest event in world sport. But for one group of aspiring athletes, posting good results on the field of play won't be enough. They also have to deal with political hurdles to achieve their Olympic dreams. Al Jazeera's Brendan Connor reports.
It's a sunny afternoon, and like many a football field any place around the world, there are a couple of teams getting set to kick it about. Here, though, the sides are made up of lads of Tibetan heritage. They're playing in a tournament with hopes of winning, but more just to spotlight their cause. And that cause is an independent or autonomous Tibet, free from China's rule, and perhaps someday a place in the Olympics under their own flag.
The flag of the European Union and the 25 member countries flying outside the European Parliament building here in Brussels. But on this day, this flag is the only one that matters to the people inside making representation to the EU. This is the flag of Tibet, once a nation of its own, taken over and ruled by the Chinese since the late 1950s. Now, for years there's been a movement to try to attain a free and autonomous Tibet. Now, with the Olympics looming in Beijing next summer, and all eyes focused on China and its human rights record, the Tibetan athletes have decided to take up the cause in a big way.
Pema Yoko is a young woman of Japanese and Tibetan heritage who grew up in the UK and is an accomplished table tennis player. She's become part of a newly formed organization called Team Tibet. It's a group of leading athletes from various countries putting faith in and pushing the agenda of the Tibetan freedom movement.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Brussels.
Ever since I was young, I've never been represented. I grew up in a small community where there was hardly any Tibetans my own age, and I've always wanted to see someone to inspire me, not just my father, but someone, an icon. And I feel that if we had this chance to, the Tibetans would feel so highly represented, and it would be a special moment for all of us.
The Tibetans in exile, as they call themselves, recently began taking official steps to pursue this seemingly impossible dream. It began with the formation of a National Olympic Committee and the presentation of the committee's bylaws to the IOC in Lausanne.
There are some examples in the history of the Olympics that nations without territory, which are not usually recognized internationally, were able to join this Olympic.
Like Palestine?
Like Palestine, like Hong Kong, like Taiwan. And there are other examples also.
The Olympics is a great game for all the nations to join together and celebrate. And for me, Tibet deserves to be a part of this game.
To think that any kind of free Tibet lobbying effort, regardless of how impassioned, would sway the IOC in time for next summer's Beijing Olympics seems unlikely.
For me, it's not about winning how many games I win or lose. It's about the taking part. And I hope you guys really support Team Tibet. And I hope Team Tibet will become a voice for the Tibetan movement. Thank you.
And that was emphasized to the Team Tibet athletes during their visit to the European Parliament.
It has been discussed. The Tibetan delegation was in Lausanne. Of course, we discuss about this issue, the human rights, the freedom of religions or the press or whatever the speech. Basic human rights, we respect it absolutely. But please don't forget that the IOC is not a political organization. We are not the United Nations. I repeat again, as a member of the IOC since 24 years, that we are not in a position to interfere into the government politics.
But one who begs to differ is former Czechoslovakian ice hockey star and current European Parliament member Peter Stashny. After many years of hoping, he finally got to play in the Olympics for his native Slovakia because the political landscape changed.
These are just rules. Rules are there to be changed. If there is enough public pressure, you can change a rule, you can adjust them to benefit, to accommodate. And that's one of the basic message of Olympic Games, universality.
The Tibetan athletes are a spirited and driven group, and they say they are prepared for setbacks and initial refusals, but they vow they will continue their mission.
It would be our dream to go, to walk inside, to be represented at the games, and to see the flag. And the importance for us is to show the public that we are still here, that our country has not disappeared. That's what we want to emphasize.
This was really a big step for us. I think to have really the support of parliamentarians of the European Parliament. So this is really a big support for our movement.
So Pema Yoko is at the end of her day and had some parting words with two Buddhist monks based in Brussels who encouraged her and her colleagues.
I think it was really successful. It was very inspiring as well. I feel now more that we have a chance. If not 2008, maybe 2012 in London. We want to make Team Tibet real, and I hope we will.
So it's off to the train and back to England until the next call comes to take up the cause and to speak up again for the dream of Team Tibet. Brendan Connor, Al Jazeera, Brussels.
Now, one of the first sporting events of 2008 will also be one of the toughest, the Dakar Rally. Competitors will have to navigate a 6,000-kilometre unmarked route from Lisbon to Dakar over the course of 16 days. Sportsworld's Andy Richardson went to meet the race favourites.
It is one of the toughest endurance sports imaginable, played out over thousands of kilometres of rough, unpredictable terrain. And of all the races these drivers have to face, there is one that towers above all others in importance and difficulty. The legendary Dakar Rally.
At the beginning it was only a dream to participate at the Dakar, now it's possible to win. So this is my main goal during the year.
The 2008 edition will start in the Portuguese capital of Lisbon on January the 5th. Drivers will then cross to Africa, where the race continues through Morocco and Mauritania. After 2 weeks and 6,000 kilometres of competition, it all finishes up in Dakar, Senegal's capital city.
Hello.
Luc Alfond is one man who seems to have adapted easily to the life of a Dakar driver. In the 1980s and 90s, he was a world-class alpine skier. After winning the World Cup in 1997, he promptly quit skiing to take up rallying and went on to win the Dakar in 2006.
It's maybe the same family of sport. And people said to me, oh, it's easy for you because it's trajectory and gliding. But then not really. It's not only driving on the tarmac in 2 dimensions, right, left, and back and backwards, forwards. It's just like you're using 3 dimensions in the dance. And so you have to read all the terrain and the dunes and where to keep speed and to take speed, you know, to cross the next dune to the next dune. So it's going fast, but you need experience in the desert. It's not only coming from skiing, but I feel comfortable in the sand.
Less comfortable on those shifting sands is Spain's Carlos Sainz. He's making his 3rd bid to win the Dakar. The Spaniard is a 2-time World Rally champion, but those titles were won on tarmac and gravel. Sand, he told me, presents a very different proposition.
I'm still adapting, you know, for me I feel much more comfortable when I am in a piece of road, when I have to make a proper line, when I have to do a proper braking. When you are just in the middle of nowhere and there is no roads there, I feel a little bit still unconfident, but I'm keeping learning.
The last big race before Dakar is the Desert Challenge in the United Arab Emirates, a final chance to test cars and strategy in extreme conditions.
A special spectator stage like this one in Dubai over a short course gives fans a rare chance to get up close and personal with these men and their machines. Men who normally, when competing, have little more than their own thoughts for company and whose machines have to stand up to some of the toughest terrain imaginable.
I came from a sport, it was cold and it was 2 minutes. And I had to give everything in 2 minutes. And here 2 minutes compares to 2 weeks or 1 week and hours in the car. So that was really tough for me to be focused and to stay very concentrated on 4 hours, 3 hours. It's very tough.
This is the man Alfand and Sainz will be trying to take the title from, defending champion Stefan Peter Hansel. The Frenchman has won the race 3 times now. He says respecting the terrain is the key to his success.
Driving a sand, you need to anticipate the dunes or the big dunes. This is on to keep security, to be safe. Because if you want to go too fast in the dunes, it's really easy to do a mistake.
It's a sport that's tough on all involved. Support teams grab rest and shade where and when they can. And while for most drivers the focus is just on making it to Dakar in one piece, for an elite few, it's about being there first.
Difficult to sleep, not so easy to eat, so it is a very tough event for the crew, for the car, and for everybody, and it's one of the greatest challenges you can face.
That's the biggest of the year, the hardest, we can say, the longest, and that's the one everybody wants to win.
It was Peter Hansel who eventually won the UAE Desert Challenge, a clear marker that he won't be giving up his Dakar title easily. Andy Richardson, Al Jazeera.
To football, we now know the lineup for next summer's European Championships, and the 2010 World Cup qualifying draw has been made. But what of Africa? Well, their top clubs have begun their warm-up matches for the continent's biggest prize, the African Cup of Nations. One of the favourites for January's tournament in Ghana will be the Ivory Coast. Runners-up in 2006, boasting a host of Premiership superstars, Sana Hamouche went to meet them.
Jet-lagged and groggy. It's not all glamour for international footballers. This is the Ivory Coast team arriving in Qatar for a friendly match. It's part of their preparations for January's African Cup of Nations in Ghana. The Ivory Coast lost to Egypt on penalties in the last Cup of Nations final. But they won Africa's greatest footballing prize in 1992 and believe they can do it again.
I think the level is really good. I think everyone football is getting much better, because we just try to do our best, and we have a lot of players who play in Europe now and play for big club, and we hope that we keep going.
Ivory Coast is one of the strongest teams in Africa, but comprised entirely of footballers playing club football outside their home country. This is a rare chance for the squad to be together. Their build-up so far hasn't been perfect. They lost recent friendlies against Austria and Angola. The players seem to enjoy their match against Qatar though, thumping the host 6-1. But the team won't be expecting it to be this easy when they open their Cup of Nations campaign against Nigeria on the 21st of January.
Ghana, who is playing at home, has a good team. Nigeria, very strong. Cameroon, so I think there will be 5 or 6 teams at the same level, and you have not also to be strong with your feet, you have also to be strong with your head.
This time, they'll be hoping to come back from Ghana with a trophy rather than just gifts from the airport. Sana Hamouche, Al Jazeera.
As ever, you can keep up to date with all the latest sports news on our website, aljazeera.net/English. Stay with Sportsworld though, because coming up after the break, Crouching Tiger, could this young Asian tennis star be ready to take on the dragons of the women's tour? And hippo dodging, how some of the world's best rowers found the going tough on the Zambezi River.